Before you do,
excuse me.
Yes.
I mean, I'm very forgetful before I forget what I'm
Okay.
going to say. Hi, everybody. Now, it was very interesting listening what you were saying. As I told you before, I'm from Turkey, even though I have been living in New York City for 5 years. In Turkey, UFO reality is completely different than any other country. When there is a UFO encounter, a landing, a sighting in any place in Turkey, you have to be sure that you are going to see the photographs, the interviews, and the news the next day on Turkish newspapers, the mainstream newspapers, and on television news. So for Turkey, for my country, the mentality is completely different. We are not scared of speaking UFO encounters or alien abductions or anything like this. I became the first female UFO investigator in my country because it was the most logical thing to do. We have the contact for 6,000 years old. In Turkey, the contact started 6,000 years ago. And especially in 1980s, between 1980 and 1985, we have encountered dozen landings in the central area of Turkey. I'm not talking about the close encounters, I'm not talking about the alien abductions. There are plenty. The reason is that alien contact exists in our history 6,000 years ago because Turkish nations started with the extraterrestrial contacts. So, if I'm speaking in public, in a Turkish newspaper, in a Turkish television show about UFOs, this is so normal. When you talk about UFOs, visit my country, everybody says, so what? We know this. This is the most realistic thing. So I never had these problems in my country. We don't have the cover up. If you say that I don't believe in UFOs, they will call you, you are crazy. It is completely different. Now, I'm very happy that in New York City we are having this event because when I moved to United States 5 years ago, I noticed something. There wasn't any UFO activity, UFO related events in the East Coast. Everything happens in the West Coast, in California or in Nevada, that area. And I really believe that East Coast, New York City area needs that kind of events. And we are going to share important revelations over the weekend. And thank you very much for coming.
I would just like to add this. I have here a copy of of what is contained in the sealed affidavit. I want to emphasize that this is not the content is the same as what's in the book, but this does not come to me through the book, so I don't believe I'm in violation of any copyright problem. And Bill Birnes has nothing to do with my reading this; it's me reading it. He says on Tuesday morning, July 8th, I attended. This is William Hout speaking. I would attend the regularly scheduled staff meeting at 7:30. Besides Blanchard, Marcel, mentions a whole bunch of names here. Let me just skip forward here. Colonel Thomas J. Dubois was also in attendance. The main topic of discussion was reported by Marcel and Cabot regarding an extensive debris field in Lincoln County, approximately 75 miles northwest of Roswell. A preliminary briefing was provided by Blanchard, and the second site, second site, so there are two sites, 40 miles north of town. Samples of the wreckage were passed around the table. It was unlike any material I had ever seen in my life. Pieces which resembled metal foil, paper thin yet extremely strong, and pieces with unusual markings. And incidentally, these hieroglyphics were drawn for me by Jesse Marcel Jr., the son of the man who collected some of the wreckage. And you'll see they're kind of Egyptian-like, at least in my eye. Marcel Jr. Actually saw the wreckage and handled the wreckage. His father had brought home one of the pieces. Now, just to continue here, I'm going to jump ahead. Before leaving the base, Colonel Blanchard took me personally to Building 84, also not known as Hangar P3, a B-29 hangar located on the east side of the tarmac. Upon first approaching the building, I observed that it was under heavy guard both outside and inside. Once inside, I was permitted from a safe distance to first observe the object just recovered north of town. It was approximately 12 to 15 feet in length, not quite as wide, about 6 feet high, and more of an egg shape. Lighting was poor, but its surface did appear metallic. No windows, portholes, wings, tail section, or landing gear were visible. Also from a distance, I was able to see a couple of bodies under a canvas tarpaulin. Only the heads extended beyond the covering, and I was not able to make out any features. The heads did appear larger than normal, and the contour of the canvas suggested the size of a 10-year-old child. At a later date, in Blanchard's office, he would extend his arm about 4 feet above the floor to indicate the height. I've got more, but those are the highlights.
Now, the memo is reprinted. This affidavit is reprinted in Witness to Roswell. So if you want the whole one in its final form, it's in the book. Now, the original of that, the signed and notarized version, that's in the possession of the Hout family. That's not circulating. But what's astounding is that they allowed Don Schmidt and Tom Carey to, and the funny thing about this, to show you how we're all talking about why people are worried about this, why everybody's, you're so hesitant to talk about this. Don Schmidt told me, when I interviewed him for UFO Magazine for this July issue, that they didn't know they were going to have the memo in the book until the book, just before the book was typeset. So imagine you have the story, right? You know the affidavit exists. You were actually partly responsible with talking with Walter Hout to get this released, to get him to write the affidavit in the first place. But you're not sure if what you've known existed since 2002 for what, 5 years, is actually going to be in the book you're writing about the witnesses, including Walter Hout. So that's how strange this whole community is. And I was very glad that Don and Tom did get it in the book, so everybody can read it in its entirety and see the whole the legality of this thing. It's astounding.
The press has been totally irresponsible. They've missed the boat totally on this story. The story is beyond Roswell, way beyond Roswell. There are no fewer than, I would say, 200, 300, maybe up to 400 individuals, all formally connected with the Air Force, military intelligence officers, people who worked in the Pentagon, who have gone on videotape, made videotape depositions, which are extraordinary. I have most of them. They're saying clearly that they're seeing UFOs, that there's been an enormous cover-up. They're familiar, many of them, with elements of the Roswell case. Anyone looking, and they've all testified that they've all stated that they'd be willing to go to Congress and testify in front of Congress. Short of having a piece of a flying saucer or an alien body, this is it. This combined evidence is unbelievable. And in 25 years that I've been involved with UFO research, I've never seen anything as singularly as important as the contents of this affidavit.
I think that is going to wrap it up on that note, and we will take questions from you if you have any.